Hey, everybody, welcome back to I Know a Guy. I'm Anthony, and this is the podcast where connections thrive. Each episode, we spotlight inspiring entrepreneurs, professionals, and individuals doing amazing things. Together, we'll grow your circle, spark collaborations, and discover new opportunities. Today, we're meeting Bill Toschi, a passionate advocate for private healthcare and co-founder of Envision Practice Solutions. With decades of experience in business development and healthcare, Bill helps independent medical practices break free from burnout, achieve financial stability, and continue delivering exceptional patient care on their terms. How are you doing today, Bill?
I am doing great, Anthony. Thanks for having me on today.
No, I was excited to have you on. You're doing some awesome things. I loved our conversation that we had before, and there's people out there that need to know you. So, see about making some of those introductions. But to start off, where are you located?
So I'm located in Northwest Indiana. And when I say Northwest Indiana, I mean we are 20 miles from the border of Chicago. So we are right over the border there. A large portion of the people that live in this area tend to move right over the border for taxes and a variety of other reasons. You get a little more bang for your buck over here. So originally a Chicagoan born and raised, so just jumped over the border a little bit, but serving the entire Midwest community.
That's awesome. Yeah. If you have friends coming into town that have never been, where are you going? What are you doing for fun? And where are you guys going for dinner?
Well, if we're looking for something casual, a little bit where we can talk a little bit, laugh, have some conversation, there's a place called Square Roots. It's a local place out here. Think of it as American fusion, kind of with a twist. They do bring in some multicultural stuff, then put a little twist on it, but it's really casual and excellent flavor profiles and a great place to just hang out. If we're looking for something a little bit more formal, Theo's Steakhouse is a Northwest Indiana tradition. Obviously steaks, but also Greek and Mediterranean. So I have a Italian heritage, so I love getting that Mediterranean flavors over there. So you can get your seafood, some Greek, and some steak.
Oh, that sounds great. You had me at steak. No, that sounds awesome. So yeah, what can you tell us about what you're doing? What's Envision Practice Solutions?
So Envision helps guide medical practices to unlock the business potential of their medical office so that they can have patient-centered practice they set out to create. So most practices are operating the same way they have for the last 20 years. But since the pandemic, there's been seismic shifts in both the industry and the economy that have turned their business upside down. The old model of just hanging out a shingle and seeing patients when they make appointments no longer works. There's new technology, there's new regulations, new competitors, and it's changing the way that people now receive and expect care. And it's pushing the outdated practices to close or sell. So basically, what used to work no longer works. And the problem is that many of these practices are run by people that are experts in healing and patient care, but they don't have the business experience or skills to adapt and thrive in today's rapidly changing healthcare landscape.
How'd you get started in this? Is this something you've always wanted to do, or in a happy accident?
You know, part of it is what I've always wanted to do and what I think I've been pretty decent at, and part of it is a happy accident. I spent 20 plus years as an executive working for corporate and private equity companies. I was their specialist that would come in for turnaround companies and new acquisitions. So when equity comes in, they like to group and buy a bunch of small acquisitions from private ownership. Typically, those are companies that are making money, but private equity in a matter of 2 to 3 years can triple or quadruple their growth. That was my specialty. I would come in and take a private practice and build big business systems, approaches to build a self-sustaining practice. So I've done that for a number of years. I've been an executive for several corporations and several private equity firms. What happened though was during the pandemic changed everything, both for me and my partner. So what happened here was reimbursements for practices went through the floor. Denials of claims went way up. The cost, as we all know, went up, 25%? Depends on what you're talking about. But when doctors are getting paid less and everything is costing more, and we all know with the pandemic, no one really wanted to be in healthcare if they didn't have to be. So the lower level people that worked in reception and stuff like that kept leaving. This forced businesses to cut back, and they ended up losing patients. It's completely changed the dynamic. So my partner, her name is Michelle Cousins. She spent over 28 years in the healthcare field as a provider herself, and over 20 years of running multiple healthcare businesses. Those include urgent cares, primary care, weight loss, several other specialty healthcare businesses, and she's done this successfully for over 20 years. But even she was struggling through the pandemic because she was facing changes that she'd never had to face in 20 years of doing this. So what we did was we got together and I started applying all the things I did for businesses in other industries and developing those businesses. And we found that it made her thrive, and it allowed her to open up a new clinic. It allowed her to get ready to open up another new clinic, and her business is thriving. But here's the key. She's now working on her business. She's now raised the level of patient care, and she's not stuck in the weeds doing every decision. We actually built her a business that works for her, not her working for them. So when you say, was this a happy accident? Well, I was doing something, she was doing this, and we seen together that when this worked, we seen other practices closing by the thousands. Last year alone, over 4,000 private medical practices disappeared. Some closed outright, and some sold to big chains, and some sold to hospitals. Now, while there can be good things to that, and we actually do partner with hospitals, private healthcare has an established place in the ecosystem. It's an important part for people to have choice in their care, to have that physician that's known you for 5, 10, 15, or 20 years. And we want to support that. And we don't want that to go away and be completely corporate. So what we did was we formed together Envision Practice Solutions. This is the second healthcare business that Michelle and I have put together. The previous one put clinics inside of actual businesses in rural areas so that the employees could see a doctor on site for no cost. It was a great model. It's still going on. It's still a great practice. This one, though, is a little different. This one is to help private practices around the nation build the business that they want so that they can take care of the patients they want and have the life that they envisioned.
What is it that you love most about what you're doing?
Honestly, it's when we sit down with the practice and we go through the numbers and seeing the transition, because it seems to happen quite often, where there's almost this realization of fear, like how broken we are. Once we start digging in and we analyze, and we do this practice health analysis, and it's a little uncomfortable sometimes because we're really digging into the financials, we're digging into the process, we're digging into the systems and the leadership. And it gets them a little stressed, and you can see the tension. But by the time we finish this evaluation and we show them what's possible, but not only what's possible, we show them it's actually achievable and that we have a system to walk them through and we have a way to get them money. And when we actually show them that we can build them a business that not only helps them financially, because here's the deal. If they can't make $1, they can't take care of their patients. But what if we can build a practice that takes care of their patients at an elevated level, gives them better care, that stops their patients from having to go to ER visits, that stops hospitalization and really helps them out? What if it could actually lower their patients' overall healthcare costs and make them healthier? Those are the kind of strategies we bring together for them. Building a strong business means building healthy patients also. So what I like is seeing that realization, seeing almost fear, and then sometimes we've seen tears move to hope and joy and excitement about what is possible.
So what is the avatar of your average client, or what are the pain points that they might be going through that if somebody's dealing with X, Y, or Z, you're the person they should be talking to?
So who we're looking for is we're looking specifically to talk to the practice managers that run the practice. And sometimes that's also the owners that are getting burned out. Okay, so who are we looking at? So we have two different client bases. The one that's our ideal client is a physician that's typically 45 to 65 years old, that's running a primary care, internal medicine, family practice, OBGYN. These are practices where we can not only help them with efficiencies and effectiveness, not only build them a business plan and work with their marketing and how to add services that add value to their patients and also help their staff, but we can add on a ton of additional revenue sources, things that other people in the industry are already doing and already proven with. But we bring them in a new way that allows them to do less work. The second group we work with is specialists. And this can be orthopedic surgeons, this can be cardiologists, this could be podiatrists, this could be pediatrics. We work especially well with that because not only do we bring consulting and coaching, and not only do we bring a framework, which is called the Practice Freedom Framework, which is a step-by-step path and steps and actions to take, but we also have powerful technology and services at our disposal. That means We're bringing some of the latest technology to automate and integrate their systems and their workflows, streamline, and keep it focused so that the people that are working in the practice can focus on patient care. You see, what they're dealing with is increased administrative demands. Sometimes they have to hire a full-time person just to get people through the admin part. New regulations constantly from the government. They have lower reimbursements. A lot of people don't realize that medical practices that are taking insurance do not get to decide how much they're charging a patient. It's decided 100% by the payers. Think United Healthcare, Blue Cross Blue Shield. Now, we don't have any problems with them, but what's happened is they've actually lowered their reimbursements in many cases, including Medicare, over the last 5 years. But they're denying claims at a higher rate. The costs for a practice are skyrocketing, and the labor market is seeing frequent turnover because it's very difficult to get people to stay in this environment when there's the risk of the next pandemic coming around the corner. So here's the thing. All of those things there, Anthony, those are the visible pain points they see. But once we get into a practice, we're seeing what's missing is the business. They're not set up to support the practice. They're missing the things like clarity and control. They have underdeveloped structures. They don't have any measures. Their leadership and culture is ad hoc. Nobody knows the mission, and the staff is not equipped to sustain excellence. So it leads us to the next part, which is, why should they select us? They have choices in the marketplace for sure. You can go see a business consultant that can help you with business consulting. You can see a coach. You can also get a billing service, and they'll come in and they'll process your billing. What they don't have, though, is my experience of doing this for 20 plus years, which we've completely systemized now, and my partner's 20 years of excellence in opening more than a dozen clinics, being an expert in billing, coding, compliance, marketing, and practice setup, combined with some of the latest technology out there. We take those and we leverage those in our system, so you have a one-stop shop.
What about power partners? What does your average power partner look like, or different industries or professions that you might synergize well with or find a lot of collaboration working with?
Yeah, 100%. And the nice thing about it is the power partners that we have really works for everyone. And I think that's the key, is when you're looking for a power partner, you want it to make sure that it works for the client first, that it also supports your partner in a way that's valuable for them, and that it adds value to your business. So what is it for us? Well, bankers are one, especially ones that have medical lenders in them. So we can work with them. So there's something called revenue cycle management. And there's a few banks out there that actually deal in revenue cycle management. But what they mean by that is very different than what we do. And what we found is by partnering with them, we can sit down and be an added service for them. While they may help them with lending, they may help them with a point of sale, they may help them with risk with something called a drop box, where their payments can be securely dropped in to stop with risk and fraud. We can add value by helping their business, and it's a no-cost effort for them. The benefit of doing that is that they have the opportunity then to open more clinics to advance their practice, which is good for the bank, stabilize them, which is better security for their loans, and get better referrals. Similarly, financial advisors and CPAs, a very similar boat. We're able to sit down and offer an added value and an added service for them that improves their clients in the same way that we do banks. Different, but also as important, are hospitals. You might think that, well, we're with private practice. Why would we want to work with hospitals? Well, here's the thing. Hospitals don't want to buy every private practice out there. What they want is for them to maybe work a day a week in their clinic. What they want is for them to do surgeries there, and they absolutely want them to refer patients there. So in many cases, it's in their best business interest with that particular client or office to strengthen that practice, because in the end, it strengthens them, and that's good for everybody. And lastly, looking at pharmaceutical reps, they're already talking to these doctors. What if not only could they help them with this, but they could also earn some extra income with a strong referral program that we have by introducing us to doctors that are struggling in other areas. So those are definitely strong power partners for us.
Okay. Well, what advice would you give a new or aspiring entrepreneur?
So what I would tell them is, first, and I don't want this to come off as harsh, but Stop living in a world of scarcity. So there is so much opportunity and abundance right now in healthcare. Yet many practices are looking at tightening their belt and reducing services and staffing. See, instead of looking at new ways to serve their patient, their community, they're trying to pull back the costs. And all that's doing is starting a slow cycle of pulling back. Okay. The second thing is stop trying to work harder and stop trying to micromanage everything. Great leaders and great businesses build great teams, equipping them to focus their efforts where their skills align best. If you're a practice manager or you're a physician and you're worrying about paying the electric bill, you're not putting your work to the right service. So we help them focus on getting where they need to be focused, outsourcing, delegating, automating, systemizing, and equipping their staff and their team. Sometimes that's even virtual, to take care of those things so that each person is focused on what matters most. So often, physicians are so smart and so intelligent that they're trying to do it all themselves. And they used to work in 12 and 24-hour shifts when they were younger, and they think they can just work harder. And what it actually does is defeats their practice. It's about working smarter, and it's about having the right systems and the right teams in place.
Yep, that's fantastic advice. Definitely being able to delegate and build a team that is going to be exceptional at the parts that you don't focus on, right? Because if you're trying to do it all, you're not going to do it all great. So, great
100%.
advice. How can an independent medical practice stay financially strong and avoid burnout?
So the first thing they have to do is they have to focus on clarity. So we find that many practices, when we come in, they want us to hit a specific piece. Can you improve my billing by 5% or 10%? Can you increase my new patients by 10%? But when we ask them, well, what is your current retention rate? They don't know. When we ask them, what are the key problems with your billing? They're unsure. So the first thing is about getting clarity. First off, do you know your numbers? You got to focus on your numbers. Your numbers are both financial and their operations. But even more specific for a practice, there's a handful of key ones that you need to look at to tell you the health of your practice. So that's the first thing we do is we work with that and get them to focus on your numbers. You need to know your numbers and you need to have clarity. Most of them don't know a target that they're trying to attain. They don't know their current numbers and they don't know where they want to go. They just know they want to improve and they throw out a random number to us.
Okay. How can private healthcare providers maintain control and thrive in a corporate-driven industry?
So this is the best part. Everything that big business and everything that big healthcare can do, we can do for them without them having to sell. So here's what's going on. Many practices think that the only way that they can succeed is to sell to a larger group, private equity, maybe one of the insurers or even a hospital. But what we try to explain to them is those companies have overhead. Those companies have massive bureaucracies. What if we could bring them the same tools, the exact same tools that I was using to build businesses? And what if we could bring the best practices in the industry from my partner with 20 plus years of owning multiple medical practices in different specialties and fields? What if we could provide all of that in a streamlined system, leveraging the best in technology and systems? And what if we could do that for less money? What if we set them up for a business that not only can thrive today, but that is equipped to adapt to tomorrow's challenges? See, the thing about it is if they want to be successful, they need to focus on the business that they're trying to build. They're used to building a practice. You can't hang out a shingle anymore and just be successful. You have to have a business with a clear target, a clear strategy, clear goals, and actions aligned all the way down. And if you don't have the skills, that's a problem. So what can they do to stop the burnout? Stop trying to fix individual pieces and components. Instead, look at your business, get clear on everything, and then put in the best systems, the best processes, the best practices wrapped around a business strategy that can make them successful. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to work 70 hours a week. And we have had practices where they work 70 and 8 hours a week. It's not uncommon for providers and for practice managers to work nights and weekends, doing billing, doing charting, paying the bills. But what if instead of spending 90% of the time working in the business, we could build them a system where they spend 20% of the time working in the business and 80% of the time developing their business and equipping their staff and adding patient care that benefits their patients.
Yeah, no, it's like the saying, work on your business, not in your business. If you're spending all of your time just doing the little things that could be delegated, then you're kind of burning your tires. You're kind of stagnant. So, fantastic advice. I know we can go down a lot of rabbit holes here. There's a lot that you can do, ways that you can help people, and you're clearly knowledgeable about all of this. So it would take hours. But just in general, is there anything that I missed or failed to ask that you wanted to add?
The main thing is this. Sorry about that. Just rocked my camera a little bit. One thing that we've always been challenged with is people see us and they either see us in one of two lights. They see us as, so you're a billing provider, because we do provide billing services. For instance, the industry tells you that 85 to 90% claims approvals on the first submittal is considered world-class. Our standard is 95% plus. Okay. So people look at us and say, so you're a billing company. I said, we absolutely do billing. We do an exceptional job at it. We can do your billing, your coding, your compliance, your credentialing for you. Then there's another group that says, so you're a consultant. And we're like, well, we absolutely can walk you down and build you an actual business, and we can bring the healthcare side. The challenge for us is we kind of live in an interesting little niche where we're kind of a one-stop service, where we built the Practice Freedom Framework, which incorporates all of those things. So we're not just a business coach or a consultant that knows about business, and we're not just someone that can give you healthcare advice, and we're not someone that can just do a billing service. When you combine 2+ decades on business side and 2+ decades on healthcare, and you put it together with some of the best services and best technology out there, you create a completely different marketplace. So we're for that practice that wants to do more, that doesn't want to just improve, that they want to transform, that they understand that when there's a challenge in any industry, it means there's an equal amount of opportunities. So that's kind of our niche, and it's also our challenge, is not being put into one place. We can do all of those things, but the key at the end of the day is to making that practice successful, because we only have two goals. And maybe that's the big thing to tell you, is we only have two goals. And we tell this to every prospect and every client when we get started with them. One, we want to make them wildly successful, because the better they do, the better they can take care of their patients long-term, and the better we do. The second thing is we want them to be so wildly successful so that they introduce us to next clients, because we want to make a difference in the entire industry. We don't have small plans about working with 1 or 2 or 3 or a dozen or 20 clients. We want to be able to help hundreds of practices. We want to be able to transform this industry and keep private healthcare private.
Okay. For those that are ready to be wildly successful or just have questions, where can they find you? How can they get a hold of you?
Sure. You can reach us at our website, Envision Practice Solutions.com, and Envision is spelled with a Z, ENVIZION, kind of like the shirt here, practicesolutions.com. And you can reach me directly at BIL dot, my last name, TOSCHI, at Envision PS, that's for Practice Solutions.com. And we will respond to you immediately and let you know how we can help.
Perfect. I'm going to put all that in the show notes. So, just click on it. We'll make it as easy as possible. But if anybody would like to get a hold of Bill, do it. You're going to walk away knowing more than what you knew going in. He's a wealth of knowledge. They've been doing this and helping loads of people. So if it seems like something that might be able to help you out, have that conversation. Reach out. Wildly successful sounds good. So feel free, reach out. If somebody would like to get a hold of me, you can find me at ikag.me. You can find more episodes, subscribe to our newsletter, and connect with our growing community of awesome people like Bill. If you or somebody you know would like to be interviewed, you can also apply on the website. But Bill, I really appreciate you taking your time. You guys are doing awesome things. Like you said, how many last year? 4,000? Closed or are no
Yes,
longer there?
over 4,000 medical practices disappeared last year. And here's the scary thing here. Like one last fact for you. By 2032, it's estimated that 2 out of 5 physicians will be 65 or older. We're living longer. And if we can't hold on to these physicians and stop them from leaving the medical practice as they get older, we're going to be in a world of hurt by 2032. So,
Well, it's awesome that there's people like you out there with the foresight to try and solve the problem before it becomes a real problem. So I really appreciate everything you guys are doing. So
thank
let's
you
all
very
go.
much, Anthony. Appreciate it. It's
Yeah,
been great.
absolutely. It's my pleasure. Let's have an awesome day. Go out and grow our circles. All right.
All right. Thank you.